Okay, 5 main ideas. Now, just looking at these words, really doesn't give you much idea of what we're talking about. Now we go to the explanation. Well, think about the time. You're so young, just way out of you start to get back to this as you get. So that way, you know what retired means. Is this church ready to retire? Are y'all in this church? Are y'all ready to retire? Go up there. Just stop. What have you got to look forward to? So, shall we say this is let's pass by the time. Now, this region, let's say, let's kind of decide, you see anything on there that just turns you off? Taking all that Clark Street has, graciously and generously, trusting another church to take stewardship over the property that SS or Clark Street has. While everybody trying to do a limitation on what God wants to do, what Clark Street was unable to do. Can you see Illinois? We have a church that is eager to have a conversation with leadership about this potential. Who is that? A very healthy, young, thriving church that who has a heart. They would be grateful for the will of work to honor Clark Street. We can help set up a conversation between the two parties if we choose this direction. You all know.
We were building it like no use to it's such bad shape.
Carolyn, yeah. She church and another church were going to work just to be able to get together. You know how it worked out.
We can convert, there's plenty of room on the second floor that's not taken use. We can utilize both. The second floor would be where they would, because there's like lots of rooms where they can convert those into space for Wi-Fi.
Sounds like it's giving us all the assets, yeah. All right, and then the next one, usually buy. We always improve the
So what I'm getting from the group is your ideas are all what I call the big one is where we're in favor of some type of speak for everybody, is that what everybody else does? Does anybody disagree with you try to utilize the building to generate money from that? I'd like to see if we can find ways that buildings can be used by other people to generate money.
there's no guarantees that this will work only 2% changes from where the street is right now. And it will most likely cause this church not just to move, but this town.
Now, when you say verb, there's a couple of different options. A couple of different options. Churches like ours.
Find out how long it's
Or you can attract the younger churches.
If we don't do something in the near future, this state is going to get so what is it like to resolve? That's why that's good.
A comprehensive plan that you take what you already have, back to a place of care.
Anything's on the table. Sometimes the thing is, I guess the preference would be a younger one, you know, get some vitality. Yes, but there's folks we talk to that might have they're out there. Like when I live in the Northeast, there's a lot of schools are being used by youth because they don't have the building. Quite a few have now built their own churches. They do schools. They're younger people churches. They don't have the funds to build it. And I know people who hire somebody. You might need to hire somebody to help us with some of these They ask the contacts, you know, people that use these kinds of construction, you know, younger pastors, facilities, they can put us together. Let me ask you, I don't, and I still work with stuff on that kind of stuff. Sometimes it's helpful to have somebody just, somebody has done this, you discuss it. You've all been here, I've been here as long as you all. I've been here over 10 years, every time we do this, we come up with great ideas.
Let's go to the last one. No, let's go to the next one. Now, think about this second paragraph. Take all that you have and say, using the resources to begin a church. You could look for space to make the cross streets taller, look for a better place to land, and rename the church. Take small steps to build small beginnings. There's nothing more exciting than starting something from scratch. Being able to do things the way you really want to do them, not just how they're done fast.
Still breathing, you can take a lot of it. Surprise. That might be another way to call. Are there any other options? Are there any other options you would like to come back together?
We don't know
The problem is, people realize that probably 60 or 70% they will be
You're right back there.
If I do, I would take it, but I don't have a clue who that might be. I'm not currently talking to anybody, I don't know if anybody, I didn't put that in there.
It might not necessarily do it every single day. Maybe it's the agreement as far as like programs, who Jesus is.
This would also be
And hopefully, the other
we will see to it.
definitely gonna have to be at that.
Lives on for generations.
You know, we ain't gonna go in there. We ain't gonna drag a bunch of Episcopalians. We ain't gonna drag a bunch of Catholics in. We ain't gonna be so bad. And I ain't saying that nothing derogatory about them. I'm just saying we just get, you know, we get somebody like that. Yeah, my suggestion is you find somebody, if this is the route I'm choosing, that you find somebody who really work in town, you know, with girls in the area, and try to attract some of the church. Because I know there are a lot of unchurched people in the church. Yes, they're hard to say. God can reach anybody, He can change lives. Because you got, the problem with Park Street is we're all up in age. Yeah, we're all up in age. And to revitalize the church, I've been told, and I've done research myself, you got to have 20 healthy, committed, passionate people who can do the work. And it ain't, you're another church. I mean, you know, we just don't have, we don't have, I mean, we have 20 people who are passionate, but we don't have 40 people who can walk the streets, you know, play with Olivia's, and try to work with children like that. To reach families, you got to have 5 or 6 Sunday school classes. You got to have somebody that works with babies, somebody works with hospice, somebody works with adolescents, somebody works with teenagers. You want some college and career, you got to have somebody who works college and career. You got to have an adult class. That's the minimum of 6 classes. There's 6 people. You got to have 6 Sunday school teachers. And today we didn't have 6 Sunday school teachers here. So, I mean, we got to look at this thing realistically. We got challenges. And that's going to limit some of our options. But that's why we have these discussions today, so we can come to some kind of consensus on what we want and what we think we can realistically accomplish and what we're willing to do. I mean, we might not be willing to do some of these options. We might not be physically able to do some of these other options. Somewhere along the way, we're going to have to well, I know there are churches in the area.
That's what they're doing.
And, you know, they started, they got people that got everything that we don't have.
This is a summary of what
They all have a word to die self in order to turn the face over to another individual. That's nothing to do with anything to do with discussing. That would be the answer. The problem is the culture, the strongest culture is going to dominate. The strongest culture is going to predominant.
welcome.
It might not be the current.
Yeah, that's the only.
You receive that letter?
Church planners,
I would say,
That's my question. How did this get to our discussion?
you've got to understand.
Wait, this is not what we discussed.
He might have here on
This is not what we discussed last meeting. There's nothing to have talked about this. We've been discussing the 10 hours from Georgia.
might be dangerous to him in his ministry. Might do more harm than good. It might
All of
fracture
these,
his
all of
life,
these,
it might fracture our lives, and then we don't know.
it's not.
He's got to keep all those guys.
The 10 hours from board, and there's nothing in the 10 hours from board. They can make it. The several ones that we have is like redemption, reconciliation, and redirection. Reconciliation, redirection.
And those three right there together.
You got to really, it's going to take a lot of work.
Reconciliation is amongst congregations merged into a new
Well, okay, so let's think about, let's go to the church.
Most of the ones I'm not mentioning, they're my age, maybe
No one
maybe
that
10 years older, maybe 10 years younger.
other than what we do.
They're working people.
So
that
when you talk about redemption and reconciliation, those are
college
the
kids, I mean, this includes influx of all over. I mean, it's really a picture of what the church ought to be. It's got a variety.
people have left the
Yeah.
kids that can come together and go on here. It doesn't mean, okay, we're going to merge with church of ABC. No, this means that church ABC.
Yeah, what we saw the last 3 or 4 weeks,
Who had members
that's been a blessing.
who are looking
It's
for
been very unexpected.
get it out there.
And it's not something that you see a lot of. So,
That seems like it's a
and throwing the church halfway, it's very slow.
redirection.
Really, it ain't even, with our death
What you got? Sit right
Church
there.
of Jesus.
yeah. But what I'm trying to say is, our death rate is such, we're burying somebody every month.
It failed, not because
And so we got to, the numbers don't lie, we're in a bad situation. Maybe I'll be able to ask some questions. He knows where he got the information. It's basically what George Miller gave us, but it's, they got different.
something that I
Contacts are posted, we have contacts with
and that was what we are.
So we don't have a group of scientists.
Getting their
To be honest with you, like our number one was they want to merge, regenerate. Someone to come. Now you gotta decide, is it someone like us? Or is it That's a big decision. The thing is, we have some folks that can maybe put us in
Someone's
contact
not the bad
with some churches in like way.
Somebody,
The thing is, if they're the
not
same
going
age
to
as
be done
us,
too, see how much time for the shooting.
we're just prolonging the pain. So what you're looking at is you probably want a church that has some younger folks, families that can come in and help grow. Because if we just bring in a bunch of more folks like us, we're just going to keep dying like us. They have folks that are, it's like where I live in the northeast here in Columbia, and on any Sunday, there's probably 5 or 6 elementary or middle schools that are being utilized as churches. They're trying to raise money to build their own church. And you have churches that are formed that are looking for places to come. That's not.
And you got some in West Columbia, you got some in
Yeah, there's a,
and their coasts are grass coasts. Like I said, we just got, if you go that route, if that's the way the church wants to go, you got to, make sure there's a logically on the right road.
today was a good day. We had about 51 people here today. Okay? So let's say a church of 100 younger folks comes to join us. They become whatever we want to call ourselves, Park Street, whatever. There's more of them than us. That means as we start to make decisions and vote on things, which group will make the major decisions. So we have to be willing to accept that we might not be making all the decisions after that we would be part of that group. That's for some folks, it's tough. We've got to bring in a bigger group. And we merge, that means they're on the same footing as us. And if we have a constitution, we talk about votes and things like that. Well, if there's more of them than us, then we have to accept what votes happen to us. People need to understand that, because that's also comes with it. You can't tell a group to come in and say, hey, you come in, but we own it, we tell you what to do, we decide what to do, you just bring your money and bond. They're going to tell us what to do. So you might have to, we might keep our music director or maintenance secretary, but we have to decide then which pastor goes.
Probably going to keep them on with the younger
A
crowd.
lot of decisions come with this, though. It sounds, there's bringing a group in great, but then you have to accept that you might not be in charge of it. Yep, I got it.
People were saying, I don't want to be taken over my church. Oh, this is their church.
Well, the thing is, if you, yeah, but the thing is, if you do something, if you don't do something positive, then I'll tell you which one's going to happen. It's going to be that first one that retires. Because if we don't do something in the next year, we will be retired, where we will just sit here and the money will go downtown, the bodies will go downtown, we'll lock the door, and I don't know if we can sell the building or if Mr. does, but that's the other option. Stay the course, and if retire. It's a nice work for you.
Give the best option. Not just us, but other people.
Yeah, we would meet, and I think we're not discussing. Yeah. No, it don't have to be an open forum. That we would discuss, meet with them, and see if they, we're not just gonna bring a group inside the building.
Especially if we want.
Some people think we are, but that's not what we're doing. So, all right.
All right, you ready to have an opener? Let me go down.
You guys ready to open it up for discussion?
All right, let me have your attention again. Can you hear me now? All right, we're going. I think the two tables I was speaking with just a second ago have agreed that we need to have a more open discussion and answer some questions. And first off, I'm going to begin us with a word of prayer. And then I'm going to let Brother Jim come down here and kind of moderate this thing so y'all can ask some questions and hopefully get some answers and hear some other ideas. But let's go to the Lord in prayer first. Our Heavenly Father, we do thank you for this day. We thank you for the opportunity we've had to read over the paperwork that's in front of us and the opportunity to discuss it. And Father, we just pray again for your guidance and your wisdom, that you'll lead us in the direction you want us to go, not necessarily the direction we as an individual or we as a group might feel we might want to go. But Father, we just pray that we'll seek your wisdom and your guidance and your direction in the path that we choose and what we talk about and discuss. Father, we pray that it might all be honoring and glorifying to you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. All right, Brother Jim. He got to fill up his tea glass. He'll be here in just a second.
Everybody Can everybody hear me now? Excellent. Okay. I'm sure each of the tables have had some discussion. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to open up and just kind of go over what my table has discussed. And we had several great ideas. And the first one we came up with was we don't want to close. That was our number one. We don't want to close. So that wasn't an option. Because if you look at the PowerPoint slides, the very first one on there uses the word retire. And that's a nice word for we just continue along without any changes. We continue down where we get less and less. We have less money, and we lock the door. And if we can't sell the place, Metro takes it and sells it to somebody, and they build another gas station or whatever on our corner. So nobody wants that option. The second option that we came up with was some type of a merger. And what our group said was that they would like to merge, preferably with a younger group or a younger church, because we need to have folks that can continue on when we go. Because look around the room, all right? You know, look around the room. Look at your partners, look at your buddies, look at your friends, other than Mr. Malachi back there. You know, or Matthew. Matthew and Malachi could be the last two standing. Okay? Because I'll be 62 this year. So I'm going to join you all in 3 years where I'm just going to retire. So I'm not sure how old Andy, what are you at, Andy? 51. So he's young. Andy's young. So we also, at our table, Mr. Jimmy came up with a couple ideas. These are just things that we might do as a start. And he talked about, on a Sunday morning when you drive by our church, do you even know if we're open on Sunday? You know, most of us park in the back. If you drive by our front parking lot, there's 1 or 2 cars. So he came up with a couple ideas or things that you could start kind of quick with that might at least let people know we're still here. Things like parking out front. The other thing is our little sign out there is really hard to read. Maybe put something up with a banner that says, hey, welcome, come join us. We're open. You might not think so, but we're still here. And some things about some new handouts. The other thing is when you walk into the church, or if you stood up where the pastor sees, what do you think you see from up there on a Sunday morning? Kind of empty. One of the things, and I know this is hard for people to do, is maybe if we kind of move to the center, it looks like there's more folks. Because when you really spread out, it looks really sparse. But those are little things. Another thing we talked about was utilizing the education building better. As you know, Suzuki Strings will be starting in August, but that's not a big amount of money. One of the things we've had some talks about is renovating the upper floor to where it could be utilized by a company or someone else to generate money that would bring income in for us. Because let's be honest, we don't use that building over there. The HVAC's broke, stuff's in bad shape, and it's just going to continue down. So a utilization of that building could actually generate income for the church that would help us with our costs as we try to grow. Because right now the math just doesn't add up. We're somewhere $11,000 to $12,000 behind our budget. And that's just going to keep continuing. So those were the main ones that we came up with, was a merge, greater use of the education building, and utilizing that facility out there. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to go around to each table, and if there's a spokesman for each table, if you could tell me what you had discussed. I will go with the table here in front of me with Miss Geneva. Is it okay if I do that, Andy? Sure.
Okay, I'll speak into it. Our group went over both sheets, the one with the 10 suggestions and the little package with 5 suggestions. And I didn't know why I hadn't seen the one with the 5 suggestions before today. But someone else explained that the 10 are a result of
Dr. Bullard, George Bullard, coming a few years ago and working with us. And a lot of you are like me. You spent hours participating in that study. And like me, some of you didn't quite understand all of it. And you didn't know if we as a church could do what was being suggested. It was never quite clear exactly what we wanted to do, except that there was a lot of emphasis on perhaps appealing to those senior citizens that are out there unchurched. I found out that the packet that has the 5 suggestions on it is a result of this Kenny, what's Kenny's last name?
Mills.
Who? Mills. Kenny Mills. And you know, he came and spoke that time to us and told us that he was in the business of helping churches. Then I think he said for about a 3-month study for the total of $15,000, he could probably help us. He didn't say that? Excuse me.
No, and those are ideas I took from them and put that together.
You put this together? Well, I didn't know that. You got them from this sheet of 10?
I took it from them, and I also took it from stuff Kenny provided.
Oh, so,
To write it out so people could understand
Okay.
it better, because the little sheet is very hard to understand.
it is.
So I wanted to put it where you actually spell out what the 5 are.
Mhm.
So because people were complaining they didn't understand the 10.
Right?
So I tried to put it in something that was a little bit easier to understand.
Okay. Well, in our opinion, this group's opinion, this is very, very negative. We didn't find a lot of optimism in this packet. We never were real happy with the list of 10. However, after seeing the 2 options, we kind of like, for our church, the one that's called redirection, and I'll read it for you. This is when a congregation significantly changes the focus of the congregation. It redirects the congregation as if they were starting over. Now, I know you're saying, oh, no, I worked so hard when I was first at Park Street. I just want to kind of rest a little bit. Well, this is not the suggestion for you or me. Many congregations ought to consider this choice if they have the will to make the transitions and changes and sufficient leadership and resource capacity. We at this table think that we have it. We do. We hate those phrases that show up quite often there. Somebody would be interested in buying it. I know there are lots of people who are interested in buying this property. Think about it. Those of you who've been here a long time, don't think about it. You just take it for granted. You've always had it, you love it, and you just think it'll just go on forever. Some of us haven't been here that many years. But let me tell you what, this building, this land is worth over $1 million, if not 2 or 3. You can't take a local realtor's estimate when dealing with these lots around here. They want us to give the lots to them. We've been lied to. Some of the lots have been misused instead of the purpose that we sold them for. And so we just hate the thought of somebody coming in here and taking things that our forefathers allowed us to inherit. We've inherited a wonderful place here. So I know there are water spots in the building. I know this building won't last forever. But if we needed to, we could certainly sell with the right relationship with some realtor or maybe somebody that specializes in church sales, to sell something, a parking lot or something, to take the money and make the necessary repairs. And we don't know but what some rich people may come to join us. You just never know. There have been a lot of wealthy people in this church. I heard about them. And I know about the ones who left their homes as a gift to this church. My, just think about that. If you don't think your house has gone up in value, you better talk with somebody. It has. It's gone up more than you realize. And that's the way it is with this property. So we love this church. We would welcome another church who'd like to come in with us. We could work together, we think. We wouldn't want to give it up, though. And I know some of you feel the same way. Even if we got together with some other people, we'd want to be at least mentors to the young folks who might be coming in and ready to take over. But we could still feel a loyal part of this church, because we would be. So that's my report. Y'all have anything else to add?
We wouldn't refuse anybody to come and join.
That's right. We'd
I
welcome,
don't care what age they are.
we'd welcome any group, young, middle-aged, or old. Yes, ma'am? You had a question?
You need to let her have it.
What's the matter? You're saying I don't yell loud enough? Okay. Sorry, I'm being a snide twit. But anyway, this church has wonderful assets. Now, the church is aging. Well, God made us to age, and everything is a season. But we're also coming into a new season. And I'm looking at the assets of the church. God has given us land assets, powerful land assets. Is anyone familiar with a community called the Rice Estates? Yes. Well, that I understand is part of it. I looked at it from the apartment guys for Columbia. And what I'm seeing is a revitalization of part of the property that this church owns. The church owns a lot of property. There's where the church sits and the great field out there. That's not ours? Rats. Because I was thinking, okay, well, that's shot down, but even so, one of the parking lots could be utilized as a site for an apartment complex. And that would be an income generator and possibly new membership for the church. But the thing of it is, we must now get into the mode of thinking of what assets the church has. Not solely thinking that the church has a declining membership, everybody's getting old. I myself have no spring chicken. I'll turn 62 in February, and I never saw myself at this age. Of course, what person does? I mean, you have your grandparents and your parents, and the idea that I'm older than my mother really blows my mind. I'm older than she was when she passed. But we do have assets. This church has assets in terms of its people, in terms of the people's minds. Your minds still work. God still gave you the ability to walk and talk and aggravate the snot out of your relatives, which is wonderful, by the way. And I know that's not a Christian thought, but I stand by it. That's my weakness, and it's driving my relatives nuts. But we have assets. This church have assets in its people, in its property, and the minds and the spirits of the people. And we must not let negativity, even though some of that negativity is based on reality, we must not let that grind us down, grind us under, and grind us out of existence. Okay, I've hogged this microphone enough. Here y'all go, and y'all can clap that I shut up.
Okay, we talked about regenerate. That's bringing in a younger church group, but we'd have to meet with them and see what their policy is before we made a decision. The good thing about it is, with the neighborhood the way it is, you have professional people, and most of it, we've canvassed the neighborhood to death already. And if we had young people in here to go out and contact these younger people, these business people or professionals, if you want to call them that, maybe with younger people in the church, that would be an attraction to them. Instead of them, you look outside, you see them walking their dogs every Sunday. They would come to church if we had somebody that was able to go out the same age and talk to these people. So that's what we discussed. What I came up with, this was my other thing that I came up with. Since we're running a deficit, like Jim said, $11,000 to $12,000 a month, every year that's $144,000 you're looking at. And how long can we stand that? With our people that are givers are dying off. And if we stay at the amount of people we have, we're not going to survive. So my point was about going to a smaller location, which I hope we don't have to do. But that's another option. So that's all I got to say.
Jim, let me ask you, you said $12,000.
It's not 12,000 a month. We are 12,000 to the year in the hole. Okay, not quite. So it's 12,000 that we're under. So we're not running, but each month the amount of money is declining that's coming in. That is, it's equally floating around. It was here earlier. Okay, who's the spokesman for the group over here? Miss Susan. The microphone is yours.
Thank you so much. I'm just going to sit down and talk. But we also discussed mainly regeneration, and the concerns are that I feel sure we can go out and find a younger congregation to come in here and join us, but the concern is still that Park Street doesn't want to give up being Park Street, and I think it's unrealistic to expect a younger congregation to come in here and not expect to have some say-so and not expect to be able to change things, because and I think we need to let them do that, because the way we've been doing it for however many years now is not working. And so we need younger blood, we need changes, and we need all of us old people in here too to help them see the way, and hopefully together we could work with them and they with us to do it right, to make it a vibrant church again. No matter which one of these paths we take, if we don't have people who are committed to the work and committed to giving their time and their resources, none of it's going to work. But we did think that regeneration was the pathway in these choices that stood out to us. And if y'all want to...
Another concern they had too is two pastors. Many churches out there have two pastors. That doesn't mean somebody's got to leave if we combine with another church. You know, if it's big enough, we could use 3 pastors or maybe 2 different church services on a Sunday. That was another thought too. Don't get peed.
Okay. So, can you still hear me? All right. So, no, that's it. I was the other group. That was my group. That was my group. So, we have some ideas that have been proposed. So, we're going to have to consider them all. You know. Yes, sir.
Let me give you the microphone so they can try to hear you, sir. Not that you'll be able to hear. There you go, sir.
The question is, on this Regenerate, we have a part of the church that's eager to have a conversation with us. Who is that?
We don't know yet. That's just, we don't know an exact church, but there are churches that have contacted Metro and others that are looking to join, that are looking to combine with the church.
Looking to merge?
Yeah, because they either don't have a facility or their facility isn't quite big enough for them. So we can't give you a name today. Yes. I can't give you a name today.
Well, I think that should be the first step to,
Yes. No, we want to be, everybody wants to be Baptist still, right? Okay, Baptist it is.
it's not,
No, it's a Baptist church. We want a like-minded Baptist church.
then that should be the first step. Go to the state, find out
Well, first we
who
gotta
they
decide
are.
if that's what we're going to do.
But that to me is the next logical step.
If the church adopts Regenerate, yes. Well, no, well, yeah. Okay, what he's saying is that Regenerate, if that's what we do, then the first logical step is to contact Metro or others that could find us a like-minded church that we would talk with. We haven't decided anything just yet. Yes. Yes. What's that? What's that? I'm sorry.
We're saying that there are a lot of groups that agree with them.
Yes, there are. There are. Yeah. Okay. All right. So right now, I've only heard two options that have been proposed, correct? I heard redirect from the group here, and the other option was regenerate. Is that correct? Okay. So, we obviously have a quorum based on our Constitution. We will take a vote to see which. All right. Okay. All right. I'll tell you what we can do is we will not take an official vote based on our Constitution, but we will, based on this church gathering, say which one the group likes as a whole. It didn't say we have to adopt it, but the group likes as a whole. And that way I'm not in violation of the Constitution at that point. So, we now have all the folks here. How many want to do redirect? Adopt redirect. That's the one you guys proposed? We had the discussion. Oh. Oh, I thought you wanted, okay, we're voting on it. What's that? Well, that was my question to y'all, because you used the term redirect, and it didn't exactly explain, well, what is the proposal to redirect? What does that entail doing?
Well, this says,
Oh, let me explain. Okay. Yeah. So what we're talking about in redirection is when, we all hear about churches that want to come. I think one of the biggest things that is more of a quicker move is getting out there for people who are not happy or who are unchurched currently right now because their church that they've been a part of for 20, 30 years, or their family has completely taken a 180-degree turn in something that they're not happy with. And we heard a lot from Jim's group about, do we know that we're still open here? And I can tell you there's a lot of people ask me that, go, what happened to Park Street? Where's Park Street at? Well, we're still here. Well, we come by and used to have a billboard up. We don't see that anymore. We kind of don't see y'all in other places that we used to see y'all currently being in part of. Well, once again, I'm 51, and as far as the youngest ones in here doing stuff, I'm probably the youngest right now. So one thing we had and I think we've done this last time Dr. Bullard was here, was a very concise, that the church itself put together after our discussion like this, of kind of where we kind of wanted to go. And it kind of brings in a lot of what we're talking about. Yeah, there are a lot of churches that want to come here to meet. Why? We're paid for. 2, we're only losing $2,000 a month, so we can support them. So in that idea, what we're talking about, basically the reinvent, is we kind of take a kind of a left-hand turn. I've talked to a lot of people that used to work at the Baptist building, Baptist convention, that are in churches now where they have taken a 180 turn to the more ultra-modern. And there are a lot of people that are not liking this. They want the blend, if you will. They want a real good blend. Other thing too, when you talk about basically starting a new church, if you will, new churches in the Southern Baptist Convention last no more than 10 years before they go through the process again. Non-convention churches, the average is less than 7. So, once again, do you take a church that's 9, 10 years in the way? I would love to have a 9, 10-year church. People come in and talk with us, because that means they've got something done. What we're doing, what we have done here at Park Street, with not having the First Baptist title at the front of it, we are exceeding most Southern Baptist churches on our longevity. New churches, I've got 3 of them around me where I live at right now. All 3 of them have changed since this kid over here started in high school. So one of them, and they're packed, if you will, they're packed. But 3, 4 years down the way, what do? They turn over again, and they turn over again. So if you go with one that says, hey, we want another congregation, we want to start anew, remember, 10 years in the Southern Baptist Church is what you're looking at. And the other thing you have to look at too now, and this has been in several sister churches that have done this. This is not a slam on millennials, but millennials and the younger crowd do not give. They do not give at all. So you ask yourself, how do some of these bigger churches, New Springs, yada, yada, whatever one you want to, that's the neatest one to talk about today, how do they survive? They survive by you coming in every year at budget time, you bring in last year's taxes or your W-2 form, and then their staff comes up with what your tithe is. So, once again, how can you be associated with the Baptist if you're saying that's the way you're doing business? I'm sorry, I'm a firm believer in the Bible. There's only 2 people that know my giving, and that's me and the Lord and our financial secretary. But so that's what I'm just saying. I think we've got a wonderful thing. I was kind of blindsided like a lot of people with this new stuff on it, but if you look at it, I think we've got the 2 things that are there. I think we got a wonderful thing. I think we have a wonderful plan. We have started back then. We just never, we all got up, we all got excited for it, but then we lost interest. Staff didn't want us to do that. Staff wanted to option the last one, retire for here during that process. So it got thrown on the back shelf. But I think several things we have to do, no matter which direction we go. We have to change the image, and that image is online. That image is here, parking out front. I know that's hard for a lot of us because because a lot of us have to use the elevator in the back and you can't get up the big steps. That's why a lot of us park in the back. But I agree. I think the sign is a wonderful thing. I know because I was part of the group that did it, we spent 4 meetings with the local Elmwood community to get that sign approved. And that was hard. Unfortunately, we're in the historical district, and we had to put anything up, lighted or not, has to go through them for approval for us to do things. And that is why, it's this lot. That's why everybody wants that parking lot from us, because that's, beside the first lot sitting on Park, the rest of it's not in the Elmwood community jurisdiction area. That's why two people, they wanted those two houses. They wanted to build down there for the same reason. But the lot across the street and this church are both zoned in to the historical district of Elmwood. So we fought 4 months to put that sign up, to get it that way it is. I agree. I like what's on the sign, but we have nothing that says we're open. I come by here every Sunday morning like everybody else does. You come down Park Street. I'm not saying, can we leave the doors open a little bit? Hey, we're coming in. There's people here coming in. I mean, we've got a lot of stuff to do. We've got a lot of things. If you really want to change and you really want to do it, there's some stuff to do. I'm impressed with what the pastor said with his physical therapist about witnessing to that person. That was amazing. That is the type of pastor we have. We need to be doing the same things ourselves. And I guarantee you, both ways that we have, as long as it's done in a way of people that really want to come in and really want to be a part. We've had two people come in that want to use the majority one here. They want to do that. They want us to do the reinvigorate, change or whatever. But what they want is they don't care about our spiritual beliefs, our spiritual life. They care about Park Street and Bryan Street and what's contained in this rectangle here. That's what they want. And I think if we find a congregation or people that used to be a part of a congregation of some of these other churches that have changed around, I think we can do a world of good still here. Once again, we're bucking the trend. I think there's only 10 churches in South Carolina right now that don't have First, or as long as we are, has been going on this long and still have a congregation. And I want to, because, how many people, this is probably what we had in worship this morning a little bit. So, it does look bad out there in the front. I tell you, I look from down the stairs, upstairs to down here. I see y'all every morning. It's like, but there's no better choir. There's no better choir director. There's no better pastor. So we've got 3 pluses going on right now, and we got a great group of people that are ready to get out and do some stuff. I know all of y'all are older and everything like this, but there's a lot of people that don't do their the online stuff. A lot of people still do the U.S. Postal Service sending mail cards and things like that. So, I both ways, but I just want to say what our process kind of was and what our understanding was to get through this. It's a way of moving. It's a way of getting there. It's a short, medium, and long-term goal. But just remember, a new church starting 10 years in the Southern Baptist Convention. So from 10 years from now, we're going to be doing this again, who's still here.
Maybe.
Yes, sir.
Have we done everything in Park Street that we can do to try to bring in new members, or visitors? I was thinking about when we go to visitation, we meet for 1 hour and we go out and do the visitation. And most people in the church cannot do that. They just simply can't do it. But, if you think about that, if we left the church right at 5 o'clock, and I said, have we done everything we could do to bring in new members by going out in visitation and bring our old members back? We go out for visitation for 1 hour a month. In April, I think we were rained out. Isn't that right, Pastor? And then in
in June. Of course, this month it fell on Father's Day. But we actually, if you think about it, at 5 o'clock, and we have to be back at church at 6, we have 1 hour. And that's if we walk in out the door with our little pamphlets and everything, door hangers, right then and there. So if you think about that, that's 2 minutes a day every month that we spend 2 minutes. You know, that's like 2 minutes a day for everything that we going out, you know, and doing. And we don't have people that can do that. We don't have that many people that can do it. But I think we need to look at that. Maybe more visitation or longer visitations, you know, schedule when we do it, when we go out. Maybe instead of do it 1 hour, do it 2 hours. Maybe that. And also, my mom's church, she grew up in a small town in Bamberg, or South Carolina. It's in Bamberg. But they have a very small church. And of course, that church has been there, you know, 150 years. And their members die off, and you know, most of the kids that grew up in that area, they still go to that church or whatever. But it started thinning out and, you know, really getting thin. And what they did is they started having homecomings, and they would, I don't know if it was a Founder's Day or they called it a homecoming. And they would go out and they would, you know, get in touch with these people that used to go to the church. And they would come and they would have like, you know, covered dish meals. Everybody would bring enough for their family, and they would do something like that. You know, that's a thought for us. And I also thought about, well, if we do that, have this Founder's Day, instead of people bringing stuff, we would light up with some grills and grilled hamburgers and hot dogs. We thought about that last year. But I was unable to do it. But if we wanted to do that, I know of someone that would take care of all of the costs, so it wouldn't cost the church anything. The idea of lighting up a grill is when somebody lights up a grill, you can smell it all over the neighborhood. We need to go out and being active at that time to go out and tell people, look, you know, we're having a barbecue or a cookout or whatever, and we'd like for you to come, and that type of thing. If they want to come, fine. If they don't want to come, that's fine too. I think we just need to try to reach out and you know, make sure that we've done everything that we can do before we you know, before we give up the ship.
Some of us have gardens and stuff in the spring that's able to get out and mess in the dirt. Have you ever thought about taking, say, 2 tomatoes and a cucumber to somebody that you know can't get out? You know, that's a way to get into the home, young or old. Most families have 2 working, so they don't have time to get out, and we're not able to get out. So.
I know I'm new to this, but I've been coming here about a year. One of the things I know about Park Street is you all really, really care about each other. You love each other, and that's really obvious, and it's one of the reasons I came here. But I also have seen what's happened, and I've recognized that there has to be something pumped into the church, whether it be through a merger, whether it be through revitalizing, whether it be through coming up with a different plan for how you move forward. As a counselor, I can tell you the #1 thing affecting society right now is families. Our families are being torn apart at the seams due to all kinds of things. And people are looking for other people who've successfully navigated that period of their lives. Many of you have done that. But at the same time, they're also looking for people to walk beside them as they go through these various trials and tribulations. And my thought all along has been, if you find some way to influence families, to reach them in a way that is meaningful for them, you can revitalize this church. And it may take bringing in another church who has families, who has that ability to do it. But that's just been my thought all along, is that the family is what's going to have to be targeted. as we move forward. And not just the business, the people, to profession, the diversity. We have a lot of diversity in Columbia. We have a lot of people coming from other countries. We have people, we even have single people. We have people that are looking for relationship, and the millennials especially are looking for relationship. And so, for whatever my 2 cents are worth, that's what I have to say. Thanks.
Yes. Oh, hang on a second. Give me just a minute. I'm coming.
Hey, Cody, I'm not new to Park Street. This is my second time around. And for all of I'm 89 years old. I hate to change. But let me tell you, if you don't change, you're dead. It's just that simple. And the only way we're going to revitalize this church is try to get some young people in here. We're not going to do it as old people. And anybody that thinks you can, I'm sorry. I totally and completely disagree with you. Bring in the young people. If we can go out and find a church that has the young people, that wants a place to stay, and they have the same philosophy we have, bring them in. We've got to merchandise the church. That's why I brought up this parking. I thought y'all were out of business when I started looking for another church. So open the doors on Sunday morning so people know that we are open for business. That's all I've got to say, short and sweet.
Okay. All right, we've heard many different ideas. So, as a church, we've come down to this, redirect, regenerate. Similar term, but I think it depends on how you look at it. That's what it comes down to. And we've heard a lot of good ideas. The bottom line is, for a church to survive, you need to get people coming in. We all agree on that. The thing is, I don't think we survive as just attracting older people. That just makes it what it is now, and you're just waiting for them to have to face what we're going to have to face. So the idea is to get a younger group in here. I got that. And I think we're kind of at a crossroads of how you do that. Because the bottom line is, you put First Baptist, Second Baptist, whatever Baptist you want to put out there, is if another group comes, be it through walking the neighborhood, be it however you do it, at some point they are going to outnumber us. I'm sorry, that's just a reality. And at that point, they are going to be major decision makers in how we utilize this facility. So, I heard, let's invite them in, we'll mentor them, but we're going to be in charge of them. Well, who the heck's going to come to that? I'm telling you, I wouldn't come. That's not very welcoming to me. Hey, we want you to come, we want you to bring your money, we want you to bring your kids, but we're in charge. I don't know. And I understand that the building has an attachment to folks. I got that. Even though I haven't been here as long as you have and my name is not on any of the structures here. I understand the attachment to the building. But you can't let the building stand in the way of your existence either. So kind of keep that in mind. You want people to come in. Well, how do you do that? Yeah, you're going to have, and they might not have exactly the same ideas of what we have all the time. My kids aren't me, and I'm sure your kids, most of them aren't you. And the thing is, you can go to a neighborhood and invite children in, but what do we have for children? You going to be the youth leader? Am I going to be the youth leader? I don't think so. So if you're inviting them in, they bring them in with us. Maybe they don't bring as much money. I can't promise what they tithe or what they don't tithe. It's like where I'm at, there's a thing called North Springs Church. It's not a Baptist church. I think it's a non-denominational, but there's probably 3,000 to 4,000 people at that church. And they don't seem to have any money problems because they're building like it's crazy. I understand. We want to be Baptist. I got it. We're Baptist. We want to stay Baptist. We want to keep Baptist on the name. We're Baptist. But
if you want to invite like Baptists in, that's fine. But understand that's part of the exchange you make. When people come, they become full members. They have what? Same voting rights, same rights as us. You can't say, hey, if you're an original Park Streeter, you get voting rights, but you second string Park Streeters don't get voting rights. I mean, come on. Yeah, second stringers, you know. So, I mean, we all want to redirect, regenerate, or whatever it is. It's how we want to do it. So, we were looking at taking some type, it's a non-binding vote. I'm not saying this is a binding vote, but we want to get an idea so we can talk with the rest of our church members of what direction we are looking at going. So we have redirect on the table and regenerate on the table. Some parts are similar, but there is differences to the two. Well, I think regenerate says you bring in a group, a younger group, to help moving us along quicker. Redirect is we kind of walk the neighborhood and try to get some folks, itsy bitsy, to come in and try to keep it going. You guys have the idea. It was your vote on, tell me what you mean by redirect. I heard what Andy said. I got that part. But the Dr. Bullard plan was to go out and get older people to come in, if you remember. The plan we adopted was to go out to the nursing homes and the retirement villages around here and get people of an older age because we don't have young people in.
We were going to use that as a focal point.
Yeah.
But it was not what was the sustaining part of the church.
Yeah, but that's what it was voted on.
For the next 5 to 10 years we did.
But that's the vote on it. It was old people.
Bringing in new families and everything.
Well, how do old people bring in families? I don't get that one.
It had nothing to do with it.
That's what we did, Andy. I sat here and wrote that stuff and met with Bullard, and the thing was we were going to be an older church, and that's why several members left. Yeah. Several members left because we weren't going to attract kids anymore. It was to be an older church of like-minded people. I mean, I remember working on that stuff with Bullard. I remember sitting here writing that stuff.
We voted for it in that Sunday afternoon, just like we're sitting right now, is we threw the total older congregation one completely out.
No, we
Did not
didn't.
accept a single direct thing from George Bullard.
All right.
We combined
Okay.
two of Bullard's things.
Okay. So that's what we combined. We combined two of Bullard's. So we're here today. So what are we going to vote? What do we want to adopt today? Redirect or regenerate? Let's take a vote. Redirect. How many want redirect? Raise your hands. How many want regenerate? All right. Is anybody else? So what we'll do is, as move forward, we'll talk it over with church council, deacons, and the rest of the body of the church, and then we have to come up and decide how we want to implement regenerate. That's the thing is we need to see how we do that, and we also need to see if that's what, because right now the church has not adopted the plan officially. We just as a group say this is where we'd like to go, so it's probably going to go to council, to the deacons, to the business meeting, and then to a vote before the whole congregation, because that's how we run based on our Constitution, pretty much. All right. If nobody else has anything. Thank you for your time.